DFS show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We got 5 games here for Tuesday's main slate. Our guy Sean Mitchell's got the playbook out for everybody already, so hopefully you have checked that out and have yourself strapped in and ready for what should be a very interesting 5-game main slate. It starts tonight at 7:30, so you got the extra half an hour before the usual roster lock. Late night hammer tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern time. We have the Philadelphia 76ers and the Golden State Warriors. Just a short time ago, we got basically everybody ruled out for Philadelphia with Tyrese Maxey, especially the notable name, Joel Embiid. Game time decision here in this one to be whether or not they're in or out for this game tonight against the Warriors here. James, how we doing?
Doing well. Very interesting slate, news in basically every game imaginable, and that was kind of predictable considering every game other than Chicago-Toronto is involving a team on a back-to-back. So there is a lot to sift through. There's been a lot still to come. Anthony Davis is ruled out and LeBron is expected to play, but he's officially listed as questionable, so we still don't know the official status of LeBron. We've already gotten Tyrese Maxey ruled out. Joel Embiid's officially listed a game-time decision. It's 2 hours after every other game, so this is one of those situations where you may get the best play of the slate at the lowest possible ownership on a 5-game slate you'll ever get.
Yeah.
And then he may not play. Because you just don't know what the status of.
Got to plug in your util or have just enough money to pivot around or pivot to him, build your lineup with a Steph Curry and insert Warriors player that Draymond Green, and then if Joel Embiid gets ruled out, you pivot down and play Joel Embiid plus whatever the new util play is or something like that. So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, but even that today is well, shoot, does that take me out on Brunson? Am I now out on LeBron if he plays? Am I not playing? Who am I not playing because I'm potentially rostering Joel Embiid, but he's not going to play, right? So it's a very tough, steep hill that we have to climb tonight, John. But God damn it! I have my snow boots on, and I'm ready to climb.
Got the hard hat, grab the lunch pail, ready to go to work here for this one. I agree with you. I do think it's a little interesting that they've already ruled everybody out, and they're saying he's going to go through a pregame warm up, as if they don't already kind of know what he.
Oh, for sure they know. For sure they know.
They know. So this is either them just playing with the league because he's about to miss 3 straight games, and this is another nationally televised game as well. He had missed the one against the Nuggets, and that they were being looked at as for a potential fine in that game because of sort of the 15 minutes before tip rule out of Joel Embiid there. So this could all just be a ploy to prevent them from being fined here as well, which is kind of the frustrating thing with the way the new league rules have gone. With this being a back-to-back, though, like you mentioned, we also don't know what some of these teams are going to do. We've seen the Boston Celtics on the second leg of a back-to-back this year play their starters for half and then not play them again. Now, yes, they were down 40 in that game, but who's to say, right? The Brooklyn Nets sort of set a blueprint of what you're basically allowed to do at this point when it comes to how you handle your lineup rotations here. So definitely a lot of questions, a lot of teams here, a lot of news, a lot of guys that are in great spots if they're going to be utilized as we would expect them to do on any other normal day, given their usage rates and things like that. There's plenty of value on tonight's slate as well. There's some really good matchups. I mean, the Lakers Atlanta got a 247 game total. Pacers Boston have a 245 game total there. So those two games kicking off the night, the two highest game totals on the board. Utah New York, that's a 230.5 game total there. Toronto Chicago's at the slate low 226, and then Philly Golden State sitting there at 235. Highest point spread of the nights, Indy Boston, at Boston giving 8 here. So rather competitive games, decent game totals. It should be a pretty good one for just 5 games here tonight.
And that's the problem of like waiting and seeing on the Philly Golden State side of things. The 2 games kicking off at 7:30 are 245 and 247.5 respectively. Like there's going to be so many points scored in that game. The Knicks have a massive like pace up spot with a lot of injuries in their spot. Like it's just one of those things. Like you have to, again, I feel like I say this pretty often. Like you have to make a decision whether you feel strongly if Joel Embiid's going to play. Maybe seeing and I know this is the books having to save their ass, but it's a 4.5 point spread right tonight for Golden State. If you imagine Golden State just being a 4.5 point spread when Philly has already ruled out Maxey, Melton, Batum, and Embiid's questionable. So your starting lineup is like Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre, Patrick Beverly,
Marcus Morris, like
Marcus Morris, who was just placed on the injury report as questionable.
True, yeah.
And
Patrick Reed
and Paul Reed, Patrick Reed, the golfer.
Patrick Reed, the golfer, yeah. Paul Reed.
Like that's a 4.5. You're only 4.5 point favorites at home. That makes you think. And again, the sports books have to save themselves. They can't just like go 12 game or 12 point spread and like
it does make you want to bet the Warriors tonight at home here. Sixers on a back-to-back and maybe down to just one guy. You know what? I got a whole bunch of bets out already over at Fantasy Alarm. You can check out the Underdog and Sleeper Picks articles. We'll talk some over-unders here on the show as well as we go through the players, but I'm kind of with you. I think taking Golden State Warriors here. I mean, they were so nails at home for so long. Obviously, this season has not been the same case. They're just 8-15 against the spread at home this season, 12-13 overall this year at home. But the line's only moved a point since all that news came out. So, it definitely feels like that could be a good one. Maybe do a little NBA teaser. I don't love doing teases in the NBA, but maybe you could tease that down almost like a pick 'em for Golden State Philly here this evening. What's up, Stacks? Andrew, Cam the Man, and I see through you all in chat already. If you guys got any questions, want to drop in, say hello, do so. We'll pop you up here on the screen. Cam the Man, GG Jackson Faders almost got saved last night. That was a wild. Listen, what do we say all the time? You can't project blowouts in the NBA, and for like 3/4 of that game, Memphis was leading.
They took a lead into the fourth, and they just like couldn't score again. They just stopped scoring because they took GG Jackson off the floor.
Game for Sabonis in that one.
Oh,
just an absolute monster. But let's get into it, and we appreciate you all tuning in. If you haven't already, hit like on the show, hit that button down below. Helps us out with the YouTube algorithms. If you haven't already subscribed, we go live here every day at 5:00 Eastern time, Monday through Friday, breaking down the slate, giving you all the latest news and updates. We build a lineup at the end of the show. We give you our favorite bets, picks. You play an underdog, prize picks, sleeper, whatever. We talk those here as well. So never miss a live show. Click the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's get into it. Point guard position, Tyrese Halliburton returning for the Pacers here tonight, $9,900. I would expect that there's got to be some level of a limitation here. I mean, Carlisle's a wild child. We've seen Halliburton came back and like just played a whole bunch of minutes right away the first time, but he also got hurt shortly after there again. I am excited to see what Halliburton Siakam can maybe get some things together and see what that offense can really look like. But Halliburton's there. Trae Young at 98, Jalen Brunson at $9,300, Steph Curry at 91. Those are your 4 top price point guards here. The Jalen Brunson, we called out the 31.5 point prop yesterday, got over by a point. So he's at 32.5 points here tonight, James. Do you think Brunson gets it done against Utah on a back-to-back?
Let's start on the Halliburton front.
Sure.
Carlisle said he's going to, quote, be brought along somewhat gradually. So
means anything.
That is a wide range of outcomes.
Right.
I don't expect 35 minutes after being rushed back, but it's been 11 days. Same exact time that he came back from the last before the re-aggravation.
They ruled McConnell out already too for this game.
They did rule McConnell out. I expect that to have a bigger impact for like someone like Ben Shepherd and like Buddy Hield and stuff like that, where those they see because they're going to start if they continue to ride with the same lineup. Halliburton, Nembhard, Siakam, Neesmith, and Miles Turner. That would be my expectation of their starting five. And then you can just use stagger Halliburton, Nembhard for ball handling duties, and then bring Ben Shepherd off the bench and Mather in and Hield and stuff. So it is interesting to see McConnell out. I don't think it makes that much. We see McConnell like out of the rotation when Halliburton plays. So I expect I projected him at 30 minutes today. Or our team projected him at 30 minutes today, and I kind of agree with that. I could see a scenario where there's give or take 2 minutes on that number. We just don't have a good feel, I would say. So I'm probably out on Halliburton, especially when you consider. First off, it's a tough matchup, but Trae Young is $100 cheaper. I know DeJounte is went through shoot around. Same thing with DeAndre Hunter. So both trending towards playing, but Trae is really good. Despite what you think of his picture, he is a very good basketball player. And the Lakers, we've been saying it, they allow a lot of threes. And although Trae hasn't necessarily shot the ball great the last few games specifically, I mean, 40% over his last 3 games is kind of surprising, but 36% from 3 this year, a lot of volume. We know Trae Young is there's games where he'll take 15 threes, and if he's making 7 of them, I mean, he's going to break the slate. Brunson, another and this is the Halliburton, Brunson's in a competitive game is going to play 40 minutes. Even if it's a back-to-back, there's a really great pace environment. He had a check back in that game yesterday, which was glorious because obviously that's what got you over the 31.5, having to check back into the game. But he had to check back in because they started to give up points. And Utah's a team that can score a lot. I think this game should be much more competitive than the Charlotte game yesterday. Brunson's going to approach 40 minutes here. I'm going back to, he was surprisingly low owned. I get it because you had to make a decision. You either playing Brunson, Luka, or Wemby, Luka, or Brunson, Wemby. There was not one of those 3 were X'd out, and everyone played Wemby and everyone played Luka. So it was Brunson getting the short end of the stick. He's a really, really good play here. And Steph Curry, 9,100, really coming into his own since Draymond's been back, and you can definitely get to him in tournaments. It's a depleted Philly team, man. So you can get to Steph. Yeah. I know Patrick Beverley is going to be hounding him, and that can be very annoying at times. But now that we've seen Steph's ability to get up in upper 30s minutes, that's not something that he's done much. I know that Lakers game was 2 overtimes, but he played 36 minutes in regulation against the Kings. So, I'm good getting to Steph. I would probably rank them Brunson, Young, Halliburton, or Brunson, Young, Curry, Halliburton. If I had to, that would probably be the ranking of.
Just the minute limit, obviously, on Halliburton there for sure. Yep. We work our way down here again, guys in the 8K range. A couple of questionables. Maxey already ruled out. Kobe White's $7,300. D'Angelo Russell now. No Anthony Davis at 71 against Atlanta here. Thoughts on this range, and if you want to even include some of the 6K guys as well. Sexton, the Boston guards, Reeves. Where are we taking a peek?
I was a little surprised not to see D'Lo's numbers better than they were. I would say I guess it isn't necessarily surprising because when you take LeBron off the floor versus taking Anthony Davis off the floor, those are 2 different players. Davis is a post player, LeBron is a ball dominant freak of nature. Yeah. So Russell's over fantasy per minute. He's going to be super popular. He's playing. I mean, you noted it last night. Why did D'Angelo Russell play 41 minutes for no reason last night?
Didn't make any sense.
That game was not competitive from the outset. So you can definitely get to D'Lo. I think he's going to be really popular. I think a nice pivot off of him is Kobe White. We've noted a bunch. Toronto's new look lineup is playing really fast. Kobe White, last 2 games have been fine. But, dude, 42, 43, 41 minutes for Kobe White. He just does another guy who's just not coming off the floor. Needs to make threes. He takes a lot of them, and he's 4 for his last 19 over the last 2 games. If those threes fall, this is a tremendous spot for him. But you can't deny the minutes, can't deny the shot attempts. So I'm good with both those guys. Sexton, obviously not his best game yesterday. Looking for a bounce back.
Safe to say the 1 for 10 had a little bit to do with them getting blown out there.
Yep, for sure.
I also will say this, I'm a little curious. I kind of like the Knicks tonight in this game. Look at all these road games now. This is the 6th straight road game for Utah, and they're on a back-to-back. Now I get, Brooklyn to New York. It's not like a large travel schedule there, but
they probably stayed. I wonder if they stayed in the same hotel.
Right. It's still it's a lot of games on the road.
It's a lot.
So I'm a little worried a bit here. Obviously, they got blown out last night against Brooklyn. We consider the Knicks to be a better team than the Nets. So I know Randall's obviously not there and they're down, but I don't know. I'm a little curious on how Utah performs here tonight.
I mean, I don't know if that's, the Knicks are maybe a piece away from competing for the Eastern Conference for Eastern Conference Finals berth.
They're obviously down some places. So
and we'll see what happens with OG because he's listed questionable again. I like if OG doesn't play, I want that for DFS purposes because
I like it for my betting purposes. One of my bets here tonight, I took Dante DiVincenzo first 3-point field goal made tonight, plus 490. So we get DDV out there chucking again, 15 3-point attempts last night. If you can knock down just the first 3-pointer, we'll all be sitting gold there. Mike's in chat. What's up to you, Travis? See your questions in there. He wants to know, are we going balanced or 2 to 3 stars with some value here tonight? I mean, there's definitely some value. We looked at the overall top spend ups. It's Embiid, and then everybody else is under 10K. So, I mean, I think that there's, plenty of opportunity to go a fair and balanced lineup here tonight. That includes a couple of stars. I don't think we're not looking at a slate where you're jamming in, a Luka and another like 9K guy and then getting down to the 3K range here. I think a fair and balanced lineup is going to include some guys there in the 8K. So we're in there. Mike, we'll get a lineup with you at the end of the show. We build one to close out each and every show there. Coach Chris, happy to have you in there. How do we get Capella versus the Lakers? We'll talk about center when we get to the position, but certainly pretty interesting. And then to Prince, happy to have you in there. Happy to have you here relatively on time as well, good sir. So
the Prince.
And yes, we are looking at the DraftKings slate, but if you do have FanDuel questions like our guy to Prince, feel free to throw those in the chat. We'll certainly be talking about those. And for those of you who are new to tuning in, we do go position by position here. So if you have a question on a certain player position, we'll go through in each and every position. We'll hit those questions as we work our way through and reach those guys there. Dwayne, Wemby last night. It's funny when you say he didn't have a good game because he had a 20 and 10 double-double, but our expectations for what Wemby can do now are so high, and like the entire slate was up there. So
50 DraftKings points at 8-9, just not good.
Just not good. Just wasn't good enough here.
Just not good.
No problem, Chris. Happy to have you in the chat. We'll work our way through this for everybody today. All right, let's get down to some value plays here at the point guard position. I
do have a question, John. Is he? I don't think he's the coach. He's asking to be put in.
Put me in the game, Coach Chris.
That's not the coach. He's the player. This is the player.
All right. Well, the player then. Yeah, we'll get the player in the game. We'll work our way through your question there, and then I'll try to get your name fully correct there. These YouTube names, man, they trip me up sometimes. It's just the way it is. Has me feeling like Trae Young's photo. Nembhard here is at $5,800. Reeves is at $59. I'm the coach. He's the coach. Players
they're all the kids. Oh yeah, they're all yelling
into
at him.
The game.
Okay.
See, there it is. There it is. It all makes sense.
Got it.
Back to what I was saying. Under 6K here. Reeves, Nembhard, Caruso all under here. Schroeder at $5,600 me in the starting lineup, we assume, because quickly though, not yet ruled out, considered doubtful here. Pat Bev continues to play some decent minutes here. They got blown out. He saw 30, gave you another 20 plus fantasy points here. I've been kind of touting on Pat Bev a lot this, over the last week or so since Melton has been out of the lineup. The Sumo, someone's that you've been kind of high on here. Thoughts on a value point guard here today?
Yeah, so Reeves at 59, getting all the ownership, which I think is not surprising. We saw this last week when LeBron was out. And it didn't really pan out the way we wanted it to. But he's actually been a better fantasy producer with playing alongside LeBron than D'Lo has this year. Take that for what it's worth. D'Lo's obviously been the better player lately. Austin Reeves, 26% usage rate, 5.5% bump. That's the biggest on the team. 3% higher than anyone else. That's 3% higher than D'Lo, who has the second biggest bump. 1.13 fantasy points per minute for Austin Reeves without Anthony Davis. That's the second. That's the second highest mark on the team. I mean, I think it makes sense because you think about the way LeBron dominates the ball, and Austin Reeves is a good 3-point shooter. So I like Austin Reeves, 5,900 multi-position eligible. So that would be a spot I'd get to. Schroeder is interesting, 56. He played 29 minutes. He started that game. He fouled out in 29 minutes.
Right.
They had massive foul trouble in the backcourt. Him and Gary Trent both with
both started, both got into a lot of foul trouble.
Yeah, I mean, so you have to expect safely into the 30s in terms of minutes when you just think about no Quickly, no Barrett.
Also, DraftKings losing money here. Dennis Schroeder's been off the Celtics for like 5 years.
That is true. That is a tough look, and especially when you give Jimmy Butler his like dreadlock
hair up
picture
there,
and and now his like in front his emo look. Like we gotta why does Dennis Schroeder just not show up to media day? Is that what it is? He refuses, or you know what? He signed I think after media day like every year, so maybe he just like doesn't sign.
Possible.
But Pat Bev is a little bit interesting. I told you last night, I definitely would want Maxey and Embiid to be out to get to a $5,400 Patrick Beverley. He lost out on the final like 7 minutes last night. So again, slated to play 7:47. He checked out. So going to be another 38 minutes or so for Pat Bev, which would have been the second game in a row. And obviously, like Golden State's been the worst defense in the NBA in the month of January. So if there's no Embiid, even if you just have to factor in that first game he played without Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
Oh, Toby did return, didn't really play a lot, played like 15 minutes, 20 minutes in yesterday's game, largely due to the illness and the blowout combined. But I'm okay getting to Patrick Beverley. I'm not like, I just updated the ownership over on fantasyalarm.com. 6% of the field is getting to Patrick Beverley. And that's like post Tyrese Maxey news. So we had the news already. So I understand why the field is not getting there. Ayo Dosunmu is a little bit interesting. The field is catching on too. This is just a way to kind of save off Beverley. $600 less. Patrick Williams is out. We've seen now Dosunmu play 28 minutes in 5 straight, 6 of his last 7. Something that you and I have always talked about, and something that you were always skeptical of, were just like his shots just not being there. And now he's taking double-digit shots in 4 straight games. We're scoring in double figures in 7 straight. So now that we're getting Ayo kind of consistently scoring, the fantasy stats have come around with it. So
I think the defense is kind of, for a guard, he's got a block in 5 straight. He had 3 blocks last game. Then you're pairing that up with a couple of assists. So if you're getting 3 total blocks and steals per game right now when he's playing 30 plus minutes, and you can count reliably on double-digit actual points scored, like you're going to hit the value when he's under a 5K play here. So I'm with you. Good value option here. And I did see a mention of a value play on this offense a little bit earlier from guy Travis here. Julian Phillips. We'll talk about him in a minute because he got some real minutes for Chicago in their last game. So hang on for a moment with us there, Travis. We'll touch upon him as we work our way through. Anybody else at point guard or ready to move shooting guard?
No, let's go to shooting guard. At
the shooting guard position, DeJounte Murray is your highest priced shooting guard at the position at 8,200. Went through shoot around. We know the Lakers obviously struggle against 3-point shooting. DeJounte, I teetered back and forth on his 2.5 3-pointers made prop here today. It looks nice. It's certainly something he's doable. He's been taking a lot more threes over the last few games here, obviously, but his efficiency hasn't necessarily always been there. But I think the 2.5 line at home against a Lakers team here, certainly something to take a peek at. A bet I did make today was with Jaylen Brown in this matchup against the Pacers. He has dominated them this year. He's 8K. Top two guys here at the shooting guard position. Who would you rather put in your lineup tonight?
I'd rather play Jaylen Brown. I would say this is definitely a position that I'm living kind of in the mid-tier / value tier, though. Like I have obviously no problem getting to Jaylen. He's been really, really good in all competitive games lately. We've talked about this a bunch recently, because every time the Celtics are actually in a competitive game, which hasn't necessarily been a lot this year, they have been riding the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum coattails, and
Right.
Brown has had 50 or 48 plus fantasy points in like the last 4 competitive games. So if you want to get to Jaylen, shooting guard, small forward at 8K, it's a great price. I just find myself getting to the next kind of tier,
Sure.
not even next tier, like the second tier after these guys.
I just threw my Underdog Fantasy Pick'em article in the chat if you guys want to see what my Jaylen Brown play is for today. You can check that one out. I also bet it over on DraftKings Sportsbook. No fear for me today in this matchup. Jaylen Brown, 30 points or more in all 3 games against the Indiana Pacers this season. All right, you're talking mid-tier. What's your mid-tier plays here at shooting guard?
So I think there's some interest in Kelly Oubre, some, not a lot, but that's more Joel Embiid contingent.
Sure.
Like I would definitely have interest in Oubre if there's no Embiid. It would be the
Who
Kelly
plays
Oubre
the Maxey
show.
role, though? I mean, Maxey still scores when Embiid's there. Do you think Oubre's not? You think it's Tobias? Like, who's the secondary scorer on Philly here when Embiid's on the lineup?
Toby.
Okay.
Toby. Firmly Toby. And Oubre's a fine scorer.
I say
I'm not saying
37
he
shot
can't.
attempts the last 2 games is nothing to scoff at here.
Yeah, it's not. And like we've done this Kelly Oubre thing a bunch in the past, and I'm not saying it's a bad play. I also just like if you are set with Kelly Oubre at 64 and like Embiid plays, does that mean you're not playing Reeves at 59, who we've talked about? Does that mean you're not playing DiVincenzo at 57, who I think is a fantastic play, whether OG's in or out? And if OG's out, I mean, played 42 minutes. He might have played 46 minutes if that game is like at all competitive. He played the first like 16 minutes of each half. It was OG. I mean, this is what Thibodeau is doing with OG, like where they're using and abusing. This is what Thibodeau did.
I want to see the starting line because I want to know if it's Precious Achiuwa that is playing for Julius Randle or if it's Josh Hart. Let's if OG's in the lineup, like who plays where? Does OG play the 4 in this rotation here, or like what do you think they do?
I assume it's Hart. I assume it's Hart, and whether you want to call Hart or OG the 4,
Doesn't
take
matter.
your pick. Yeah. Also, like Utah runs the smaller line with Fontecchio and Markkanen. Like I shouldn't say small because Markkanen's
I was gonna say Markkanen's like 6'11".
No, I know, but I am like also like we've watched Markkanen play small forward for like 4 straight years of his career. Like even the start of this year, he was playing small forward when they went.
If you want to think Utah plays more of a stretch lineup, then that probably plays a little bit more.
Yeah, so I think we see Hart because I don't think you want Precious guarding Markkanen. I think that's or Fontecchio. Like that would be your matchup for Precious.
You get him on the perimeter and just
no thanks. Like we know Fontecchio floats around, spaces the floor, and Markkanen is gonna abuse any if it's not. I mean, OG's gonna guard him if he's in, but like if it was Precious, forget it. So I think it's Hart, and then Precious off the bench. That would be my assumption.
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see. We will get that news. That game's at one of the 7:30 games, so we'll know. But the
Hawks news here: Murray probable, DeAndre Hunter available to play. So I don't know why they wouldn't just rule DeJounte Murray in like they did DeAndre Hunter, but that's what we got.
Also, like getting to something like Oubre, like Bruce Brown, 5,500. We saw Bruce Brown play 37 minutes, and he almost doubled in back-to-back games. We know Toronto is very shorthanded. I think there's again, I'm fine with Kelly Oubre. I'm not I don't want to make it sound like I'm not interested because especially if this is a way you could play it too. Clay is 61. I like Clay in tournaments.
Just pivot down.
Yeah, you could pivot if you are uncomfortable getting to Oubre at 64. I prefer the guys below, like DDV, like a Bruce Brown, like Austin Reeves, but you could definitely make a case for Oubre, Thompson, and if you're not comfortable with Oubre, if
I mean, as it
plays.
stands right now, if you go to Fantasy Farm, we have our draft percentage forecaster out there. Dante DiVincenzo is your highest rostered player of the entire slate. He's over 50% rostered. So, we're not saying anything we don't already know. That the field is definitely back in on DDV there. I do like Gary Trent. You highlighted in that Lakers Bulls matchup as two teams that allow the most 3-pointers, per game to their opponents. Gary Trent, largely only takes threes when he's on the floor. And if he can stay out of foul trouble with the guys that are going to be out of the lineup for Toronto, there could be a ceiling here of 30 plus minutes for him, so could find himself taking 10, 12 3-pointers in this game if he's able to stay on the floor. I think Gary Trent under 5K tonight has a little bit of a ceiling to him.
Yeah, I would not project foul trouble again either. That's just it feels more random than anything. Had 2 early fouls, had to come out of the game, picked up 2 early fouls in the second half, couldn't just come back. And he did close the game too. And you look at Popcorn Machine, played the final 7 minutes. So it just makes you think okay, Gary Trent plays 30 minutes in this game if it's a competitive format. I will note he has not been really good this year. In general.
Yeah.
And this removing quickly Anunoby, Siakam, Barrett off the floor, 0.7 fantasy points per minute. So obviously not great. The usage rate bump is nice though. 4.5% usage bump up to 23.4. So I definitely have a lot of interest in trying tournaments because what you brought up, the 3-point shot.
Did DDV get more playing time because of OG or Randall here? I mean, I think it was because of OG, but if they go to the lineup there, you think about their rotation. If OG re-enters the starting lineup there, it's either Hart, it could be him coming out of the game. We'll talk about Quentin Grimes here in a moment. Those guy that's getting a ton of ownership here, Love as well, coming off their bench. But I still think DiVincenzo is going to get a lot of playing time, I think, regardless of their rotation tonight. Just sort of the natural bump of minutes there because they can move OG or they can move Josh Hart to the power forward position there. So Hart maybe a better play today. Listen, we talk all the time. Josh Hart is liable to break a slate. He could have a 15 rebound double-double. We've seen it a few times already, giving you 40 plus fantasy points. We're definitely big Josh Hart fans here, especially after last night where we took his rebound prop and he had no problem getting that by halftime for us yesterday.
I will comment on the first point. I do think there's a mixture of both, Coach. Please put me in the game, Coach. But I do think that DDV, and if you can see it because Quentin Grimes played 32 minutes off the bench. That's clearly because OG. That was an OG related minute bump for Quentin Grimes. But DDV has always suffered because of Josh Hart coming off the bench because Thibs likes to go to that Josh Hart lineup where Josh Hart just pushes, sorry, DDV, you made 4 first half threes, but you're not going to close this game. Josh Hart's going to play 30. So I think as long as Hart is starting, whether or not OG's in the lineup, DiVincenzo, will he play 40 minutes? Probably not. I don't think we're going to see 40 minutes with OG in, but I do think we would see less Precious at the 4 today. We saw last night that they're still not comfortable extending Isaiah Hartenstein, so we're going to see probably Precious play more 5 ball, more at the 5 on tonight's slate.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think as Randall's out, Hart starts, DDV is still 30 plus minutes. And anytime you see him over 30 minutes, he's been a fantasy point per minute guy. He's been a fantasy point per minute guy anyway. That's a given, but it's definitely more contingent on Hart starting than it is OG playing. Because I think regardless, like if Hart comes off the bench, that would be a little concerning for me because
Sure.
then they could technically close Precious Hart, OG, if like big lineup, OG, Hart, Precious. But I don't think they're going to do that with the way that Utah spaces the floor and plays at a fast pace. So I think they're going to need DDV for 30 plus minutes tonight, regardless. Not saying Hart's not a better play. I personally think DDV is a better play. Just from a fantasy point per minute scale, he's
shooting wise, you'll get way more shot attempts out of DDV, which obviously helps. Plus, defensively, we know he's a guy that can get you some defensive stats there. In a better distributor at times. He obviously was playing point guard at times for the Bucks, a couple years ago. So, do you go back to the Grimes? Well, do you think Grady Dick's minutes are purely based off injuries there, or the foul trouble rather, not injuries? Like, what's your thoughts on the under 4K plays that are on this slate here today?
I mean, I do think Grimes is going to have a bigger role. What that role is with OG, we don't have that necessarily. We don't have that answer, but he had been playing low to mid 20s minutes before this Randall injury. Randall injury comes, he plays 32 off the bench. We know Thibodeau runs a very, very tight rotation. So I do think Quentin Grimes plays mid to high 20s minutes if OG's in. And we saw last night, there's a 30-minute ceiling if OG's out. So I'm okay getting back to the well. He played 32 minutes. He missed all the shots. It happens. That's, you live and die by the three ball. That happens sometimes. Who's to say he doesn't come out and go 4 for 6 tonight? If he goes 4 for 6 last night, everyone's happy with the way Quentin Grimes' night ends up, right? So I'm good getting to Quentin Grimes. I like it better if OG's out, but I'm good getting there regardless. I still think mid to high 20s minutes is in the cards.
Sure. Moving on over to the small forward position here. Again, we have some dual positional eligibility players. LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, Lauri Markkanen, your top 5 small forward hybrid plays here. We've obviously been in a lot on Lauri Markkanen. The price tag of Jason Tatum is pretty nice, given what we've paid for him. Previously, the man almost ruined me last night. I had the under 28.5. He went into the fourth quarter with 14 actual and scored 14 points in the fourth quarter because that's what Jason Tatum is capable of doing. At $9,200, if you're going to get 60 fantasy points, ship us up, right? We're in on something like that here. Against the Pacers this year, averaging 60 fantasy points. Some of that was the in-season tournament minutes workload, but what are your thoughts on Tatum and the rest of this group? I know a lot of people are in on LeBron James tonight.
Yeah, and that's 1.4 fantasy points per minute, 31% usage rate. Guy's been just stupid with the minutes lately. I mean, another guy, I don't know why he played 37 minutes. They were just not, it was a non-competitive game throughout, played 37 minutes. Still, again, listed questionable officially, said he's likely going to play. At least we'll know early. If LeBron plays, I definitely like the spot. I mean, the game is a 247.5 total, 2 top 10 teams in pace. Atlanta's a bottom 10 team defensively. So it's really hard not to like LeBron and say that he's the creme de la creme here.
Yeah.
Tatum is obviously a good pivot, 9,200. They could potentially be without everyone in their front court. I mean, Al Horford's already been ruled out. Luke Cornett's doubtful. Kristaps Porzingis is questionable. We've seen in situations like that, Tatum elevates his game on the glass. Yep. Surefire double. I mean, he's coming off back-to-back double-doubles, 3 in his last 4. Could be relied upon again to do that. He's another guy. Look at the last 2 games he's had to play upper 30s minutes. 38 minutes, 59 fantasy points. 41 minutes, 72 fantasy points. We know Jason Tatum has an insane ceiling. So the price tag is super questionable in this type of paced environment. So I'm definitely interested in both guys. Scotty Barnes has a team to himself. He wasn't great in that Atlanta game. The 4 rebounds, the scoring, fine. The assists were fine. But why not just get $400 more and play in it? Get to Tatum in a game that has 20 more implied points in it.
Right.
And then Markkanen, definitely prefer if there's no OG Anunoby. Let's just flat out say it. The Knicks are winning OG's minutes by it's plus 200 and he's he leads them in net rating, dude. He's been there for 15 games. He leads the team in net rating. That doesn't even compute. So I would obviously prefer Markkinen if there's no OGs, just not to deal with the headache. I know we talk about individual matchups and sometimes they don't matter. I just don't want to deal with it. I want to just avoid it at all costs. If OG's out though, fire up Markkinen. You can get him wherever you want.
Okay. Mid-tier, small forward. Obviously, OG's here at 68. Toby, 66. You do have Sadiq Bey, but that lineup is getting healthier. Jonathan Kuminga, cover of this morning's show, $5,800. Some other guys we discussed already, DDV, Hart, Neesmith, Wiggins at 53. What are your thoughts as we go into the mid-tier range?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Toby is interesting coming off the illness. He didn't have to be extended a lot last night. 20 minutes. He was ill. No reason to extend him after that game was just not even competitive. But Toby plays really, really big minutes in games that are competitive and games that and now there's no Tyrese Maxey, right? There's not only no Tyrese Maxey, there's no Nicholas Batum, there's potentially no Marcus Morris, there's no DeAnthony Melton. Philly is really shorthanded, potentially with no Embiid. If there's no Embiid, I'm the captain now meme insert here for Tobias Harris. So, it's just one of those things. You have to play your cards right. 6,600 is fine with Embiid. I don't love it. I think it's like a situation where you can obviously pivot. You have Kuminga, you have a bunch of different options below him. So it's not like you're going to get stuck by playing Tobias Harris. I like Clay, as I mentioned. The Kuminga thing is he re-enters the starting lineup last game. Dude, he has been amazing playing with Draymond Green. I looked at the numbers before the Lakers game. He was at 1.3 fantasy points per minute alongside Draymond Green this year. Again, that's something you and I have been talking about all year about Steph. Excluding the Kuminga conversation. Yeah. It's just we've been Draymond, as much as we can clown on Draymond for whatever he has done this year and the last couple of years in general, there's no clowning on him making everyone better. Draymond Green simply makes players better when he's on the floor, just given the unselfish offensive game that he plays, right? Selfish in other ways, obviously, but unselfish offensively. Jonathan Kuminga on the floor with Draymond Green this year, 1.23 fantasy points per minute, 25% usage rate, 130-minute sample. Back in the starting lineup, there's no way you could take this guy off the floor right now against a really shorthanded Philly front, wing room that is down a bunch of guys and on the second leg of a back-to-back. So I love Kuminga. I just saw a shout for Wiggins from Coach. He has been better. Maybe that's the trade talk getting to him. Maybe that's him finally being in shape. There's all the reports that Wiggins has not been in shape to start this year, and now we're getting probably the best version of Andrew Wiggins we have in at least
also trying to ship him out of town. So yes, maybe that's what I'm talking about. The trade talk. Maybe this is trade. We see trade D'Lo. Well, maybe trade Wiggins. So I'm okay getting to Wiggins. I prefer Kuminga, but if you need to save a couple $100, you go to Wiggins. Where else are we going as we hit the value? So this is where we see some chalk. Obviously, our guy Jordan Nwora had a day the other day. We used Fontecchio. Hachimura is here. Torian Prince is down here. Julian Phillips is here. The rookie for Chicago played some big minutes there, 23 minutes, got early run rotation, played in the fourth quarter, didn't close the game for them. And he enters him at $3,300.
So the Nwora thing, I think, is tied to Jakob Poeltl, and I understand they could go small even with Poeltl back, but they took Thad Young off the floor last game, and they went with Nwora. I don't think they would do that if Poeltl's active, especially with Vucevic on the floor. So I think Nwora has a better chance of playing if Thad is the starting center and not Jakob Poeltl. And then no real interest in Julian Phillips. I know that he played 23 minutes. I know he's 3,300. I think there's just other value that we can get to that we don't need to necessarily get to Julian Phillips. The field really isn't getting Julian Phillips. I think there's a scenario where he gets like leapfrogged by Dalen Terry at times. Like I don't think Billy Donovan's figured that part out either.
Yeah, there was a rotation. I was looking at Popcorn Machine where Dalen Terry got subbed in the third quarter. He played less than 1 minute and picked up 2 fouls, and Julian Phillips had to come right back in the game. And Julian Phillips then played the next like 8 minutes into the fourth quarter there. So
yeah, I don't think there's like much. I mean,
I'm encouraged by the first quarter run, right? So, you know,
yes.
it at least shows that, you know, with Patrick Williams out, Julian Phillips is going to get some work here. So, I mean, on a slate where everybody's playing the same chalk, if you need the extra money to go play a Joel Embiid plus something else tonight, if you think Embiid's going to play, or you want to go stars and scrubs, like he played 23 minutes at $3,300. Like I'm willing to I'm okay on this type of slate taking those chances.
Would you play Julian Phillips, or would you play, if Marcus Morris and Embiid are ruled out, Daniel House or KJ Martin?
I don't know. I know Marcus Morris has been good.
If Morris is ruled out, KJ Martin or Daniel House?
Definitely not
Julian Phillips.
I think Daniel House is trash. I wouldn't play him. I know you hate when I say that, but I don't like Daniel House at all. I'd be willing to play KJ Martin if we knew he was going to play.
Yeah, he's definitely been in the rotation more of late. I not sold that he will be, but the Marcus Morris news obviously could get KJ Martin a few extra minutes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I like KJ Martin. We liked him when he was in Houston, but I know at least it feels like Phillips is guaranteed the early run. Yep. So it all depends on how you feel about the line.
It's also like we didn't mention the Lakers guys. Like there's obviously
I just skim by them because they're so chalky. You know, people kind of know. You know,
what if LeBron doesn't play? Then it doesn't really, like Hachimura 3,800. We're not just going to skim by because they're chalky.
No, I'm not saying skim by in terms of not playing. I mentioned earlier that they're chalky. Okay. Like they're Hachimura is somebody that, as it stands now, is getting 20%, but that would jump to 50%, right? Yes. Christian Wood is over 50%. Austin Reeves is over 30%. D'Angelo Russ is 30%. I mean, Vanderbilt isn't even actually getting any love, and we'll talk about him in a moment. So, you know, that's the value that I'd rather find myself getting to here. So, over at the power forward position, we have a lot of these guys we've discussed already. New ones that we haven't discussed: Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, Draymond Green in that 6K tier, John Collins in 6K. Where do you find yourself looking to go power forward tonight?
I think you can get to Siakam too, playing with Halliburton. I think that's going to be a very fruitful pairing. Getting out in transition, Siakam's one of the best players in the league in transition opportunities. So 8,300 for Siakam. I'm not afraid of 7,800 for DeRozan too. I don't love that he's like just kind of chilling lately, but still got the 40s fantasy points at 7,800 last game. Jalen Johnson is really good with Trae Young. I don't know what's going to happen to Atlanta's rotation in general today, especially with Hunter back, Murray back. Like, I assume downgrades to Bogdanovich. I assume downgrade to Sadiq Bey. I assume a little downgrade to Jalen Johnson, just like in terms of minutes. Like, there's just no way that those guys can continue to play high 30s, 40s minutes with them back. Like, Hunter has started all year. DeJounte obviously starts and plays mid-30s minutes. So, like, it is definitely going to be something to kind of just watch and monitor how Atlanta handles their rotation. So I'm probably out on the Johnson front. I do like Draymond quite a bit, 62. I know like could theoretically be a tough matchup against Joel Embiid, but so is Anthony Davis, you know, and we're not sitting here playing Draymond Green because we're like, oh, Draymond Green's going to go out and make 50.
I was going to say, we're not playing them to score, right? We're playing them to do everything else.
Yeah, he started at center. They played Trace Jackson Davis 5 minutes. They played Kevon Looney 8 minutes. Like, and I agree, Coach, they do have to let Jalen Johnson cook. I am a Jalen Johnson stan. It's just, and I think like he's going to play plenty. It is going to be a little messy until the trade deadline, I think, because Atlanta has a lot of people in the wing room in general. But yeah, Draymond 62 is really interesting. And then just like a bunch of guys we mentioned, Kuminga, Josh Hart 55. He was really good. Played 40 minutes last night. Almost triple doubled. So between Green, Kuminga, Hart would probably be the next like few guys that I would get to.
Sure. Under those guys, I mean, a lot we've talked about, there's a Chua, there's a Gonku, Vanderbilt, though. I get that he got ejected and played 7 minutes, but what about his recent play would have him as like the lowest rostered value guy on the Lakers tonight?
Isn't it like, it's funny, right? So Jackson Hayes started the last game Anthony Davis sat, and then Christian Wood played 30 minutes. Isn't it live to see Jared Vanderbilt just start at center tonight?
I think so.
Would that surprise you if they started Jared Vanderbilt at center?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes off the bench and still plays 25 to 28 minutes, right?
So, right. I'm just saying, like, it is an interesting thing because Taurean Prince is getting 20%. Jared Vanderbilt's been playing over Taurean Prince.
Yeah.
Other last night aside, because like you said, he got ejected, but he's been playing over Taurean Prince. There's no Anthony Davis. Like, there is a lot of minutes to be had. But I mean, we still don't have official word on LeBron. Like, there is still that out there too. There's no Cam Reddish. There's more, there's 16 to 20 minutes on the wing that is available every night without Reddish. So it's like, I would rather play. Now, I think it's probably a price thing where Hachimura is $600 cheaper, Prince is $700 cheaper, Woods $800 cheaper. But Vanderbilt has been just objectively better than all of them. So, I think Christian Wood is pretty much plug and play at this point for me. But I'm also good getting to like a Wood Vanderbilt lineup because Wood Vanderbilt LeBron could be their closing front court, and all three of those guys could play 30 minutes, and it wouldn't be surprising.
It's got big Wednesday news. Luka Doncic out.
Well, that's. Yeah, shocker. He's played. Did you not see the OG news? He's out.
OG's out. There you go.
As of 3 minutes ago, he is out. So
we can expect to run back the same starting lineup we just got then for
same starting lineup. I mean, I guess theoretically the only thing maybe because Utah, maybe you don't want to put Precious in that starting lineup is you would start Quentin Grimes over Precious, or Jericho Sims over Precious, like something. We know what I mean. You have a higher opinion on Precious than I do.
I mean, I think he's a good defender. I mean,
he is. He is a fine defender. Damn, Dallas is going to be very shorthanded tomorrow.
I'll say Kyrie out now too. I'll be on the playbook tomorrow, so make sure you tune back into all of our shows, and we'll break it down for you.
So, like the Knicks, just quick to just circle back to the Knicks, and we could just probably tie this into a bow for the Knicks. 40 minutes. Incoming for Brunson, 40 minutes incoming for DiVincenzo, 40 minutes coming for Hart. Like almost a guarantee. All three of those guys are playing 40 minutes against Utah. Bottom 10 defense, top 10 in pace. Utah is. It doesn't seem like they're comfortable going to Hartenstein more, but if we get word that he is, so he's capped at 25 minutes tonight, John. Okay. Hartenstein. So we're gonna get a 9-minute bump. What that means for Sims and Achua, we'll find out. DiVincenzo, Brunson, Hart would be the priorities, and I'm perfectly fine getting to Quentin Grimes, who's likely to get 30 minutes off the bench. So I think if we get the question, I would max 4 Knicks tonight against Utah. I'm probably going to play 3. Shout out to Toronto Dave, always sending the alarm our way. Always popping in also when I don't know if
Toronto's on the slate.
When Toronto's on the slate.
Yep.
But I would max 4 Knicks. Most likely 3. Obviously Brunson, DiVincenzo, Hart as the top dogs.
Yep, I would agree with you there. Let's go to center here, and then we'll finish breaking down the lineup for all of you as well. Obviously, a lot of the Joel Embiid news matters here. JoJo is in. Yes. It's just a smash spot for him. There's plenty of value over and over again to get him in your lineup tonight. But if you're going to make builds with him, you got to put him in your util or put him in your center and be prepared to throw Draymond in there and have room to get Curry and things like that in your lineup. You're going to have to play a few different guys in this game just so you can make some pivots to get the correct, spend ups and value plays into your lineup for this matchup. Underneath them, you got Porzingis here. He's played just 3 games against the Pacers. He got hurt in one of them. 25-minute fantasy points per game for him in those ones. Or is it a blowout or did he get hurt? It was one of the two.
It was that was the eye poke game.
The eye poke game. Okay. So still limited minutes for him. Boston is at home here as an 8-point home favorite. They are in a second leg of a back-to-back, but he did not play yesterday. You have Vucevic, Turner, Hartenstein, as we just mentioned, with the bump up there. We didn't get Jakob Poeltl news yet, I don't think. So could maybe see him come back. We like Draymond a lot tonight. Our guy, Coach, talking about Capella this evening. I know we're interested in maybe some Hawks front court plays here without Anthony Davis tonight.
Yeah, we'll start. Embiid is, I think, without a doubt, the best play of the slate. If he goes, I don't. That's not like a hot take, but Golden State has been the worst defense in the month of January. I've said that a bunch. They're also now ranked 24th on the year. That's been their struggle, even with Draymond. Like, they're very deficient defensively. A lot of their players are obviously older too, so they need to get younger. They decided to trade their young pieces and not play them, so that's on Golden State. Vooch, I think, is a great play. If Jakob Poeltl's out, they just will have nothing to stop him in the front court. We've seen centers torching Toronto lately. No offense, Toronto, Dave. Sorry to hear it, but even Toronto took that off the floor the other day. That's how Jordan Nwora got his play. They went small. Vooch would eat small ball lineups alive in this one. Can't play Hartenstein on 25-minute limit. Probably have to assume Poeltl, after missing 10 games, would be limited. 3 weeks of action he's missed, so there would definitely be a limit there. Love Draymond. The Capella thing is interesting. He's definitely played the better end of the split between him and Onyeka Ngakwu lately. I still think Capella is very live to get traded because, they are obviously more invested in Ngakwu after paying him the extension before the season.
Right.
And this ship has sailed with Clint Capella. Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Onyeka Ngakwu, possibly Bogdanovic because he can space the floor, and then put everyone else on the market. Trade them all. But Capella's been good, undoubtedly, in the better end of the split. I mean, 2 double-doubles in his last 3. They're possibly going with Jackson Hayes, Vanderbilt, Christian Wood at center. That's a really good matchup for opposing centers. I'm not prioritizing Clint Capella. I definitely think he's in play in tournaments. But I'm good getting there. So he's getting some ownership. The problem is all the ownership is gravitated towards Christian Wood. That's half the ownership is going to Christian Wood at 36. Then 1/4 of the ownership is going to Vooch.
Yep.
And then the rest of it is Hayes, which that's for, you can play Jackson Hayes if you want. Good luck.
I mean, we'll know who's starting at least, right? I mean, it's.
I assume it's Jackson. My assumption is Jackson Hayes. But he hasn't been in the rotation, so I could also be wrong. And then Embiid's getting 15%. Then no other centers are getting any ownership whatsoever.
Agreed. Let's build. Guys, have any questions about lineups? Throw them in the chat. We'll be happy to answer them for you. I imagine we just go Christian Wood here at center because he's $3,600.
Yes.
And eating all the chalk there. We like Dante DiVincenzo. And shooting guard here. What's our next plug?
Jalen Brunson.
Brunson, okay. Brunson, a point guard. 6280.
Kuminga.
Yep. Draymond, just double it up.
Draymond works.
65 basically for 3 positions. Got another value plug in here.
A Laker.
A Laker.
Yep.
Let's see. A Laker. What's our value Laker plug? Vanderbilt. I'm good on Vanderbilt there. I like him. Ford. $7,500 guard and utility.
D'Lo.
Do another spend up if we want. You want to just chuck another Laker in there?
D'Lo or Reeves. Reeves has been better on fantasy point per minute scale.
I'm happy to do Russell though. He's been kind of on fire lately.
Okay.
Unless you wanted to spend up. I mean, we could have gone to Trae, could have gone to Tatum, Curry, nobody. Okay. $100 off Jaylen Brown kind of hurts my soul a little bit. We are at $7,900 here. So, what do you want to do? Luke? Double up center?
Yeah, he's good.
Okay. Example lineup for everybody here tonight. Obviously, going with Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, Christian Wood, D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, and Nikola Vucevic there, taking some of the chalk plays on tonight's slate. If you guys want to move it around, you certainly have the money to do so. Go get LeBron James. You can play Steph Curry if you want. MD wants to know, any chance Clay outscores Draymond tonight? Can't play Draymond because I can't stand him. Well, as we say all the time here, MD, and welcome into the show, biases don't win you money. So if Draymond is the better play, you got to go ahead and put him into your lineup. Is there a chance Clay outscores him? Of course. Definitely a chance he can go out there and hit 8 threes and outscore Clay Thompson. But, you know, Draymond's been really good. If you're just not playing Draymond Green because you don't like him personally, then it's not going to win you money in the long run there. So we're plugging Draymond in here. I have no problem.
Porzingis in, Luke Cornett out.
Okay. So Queta maybe the backup. It doesn't really matter. You're going to get a lot of Porzingis here tonight. So would you do Porzingis at 76 or Vucevic at 75?
If Pirtle is out, Vuk, if you want to be different in tournaments, Porzingis.
Okay. You won't know, unfortunately.
But you won't know.
Guys, again, get in that Discord if you're not done so already. Here's QR code. Become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, or you go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Fantasy Baseball Draft Guide is out. That comes part of your All-Pro subscription, as well as access to all of our premium content. If you play PGA DFS or PGA DFS Playbook is out tomorrow. MMA, NASCAR DFS this weekend. We have the 3-time Racing Writer of the Year, Matt Sells. His NASCAR Playbook will be out this week for the Clash, I think it is. That goes on. So a lot of premium content to be had. Simple, low price. Scan the QR code or go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Become a member of the Fantasy Alarm family today. James and I will be back tomorrow here, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Don't miss a show. We'll see you later. Good luck, everybody.